score will do. It will do. Oh, it's Jordan to go. Puts it to a great spot. Greenwood! Mark of the night. Hear it from you.
Hello, I'm Damien Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas. Two stunning results yesterday. The Hawks dismantled the Giants and the undermanned Tigers knocked over Freo on the road. Matty Lloyd and Jimmy Bartel, which win impressed you the most?
I like what the Hawks did yesterday at the MCG. It was a bold week, all week from the Hawks. He talked a big game and a tough game. We know Alistair Clarkson always follows through, dropping Jared Roughhead, but he picked apart the Giants' game plan. They absolutely denied the Giants everything.
They did. The Richmond lost. They were poor against the Bulldogs last week, and then yesterday to lose Rance, Revolt, Cochin, Loston and Rioli during the week. Then Curvis goes down, Ross goes down. They smashed Freo early, set the tone, and they were brilliant yesterday.
How'd they do it, Lord? It came about in the third quarter when they slammed on 6 goals to 3. Yeah. The Dockers were inaccurate in that same particular patch of the game, but they were dominant when the game had to be won.
Yeah, I heard Ross Lyons after-match press conference. He spoke about an ambush. He said they came, they ambushed, they were harder than us, and at the end of the day, that's how they won the game. But some freakish goals in this period. They just, that man there was brilliant. The little fella in the forward pocket, Bolton, kicked his 4 goals. Damien Hardwick said, we know what he can do in attack, but until he tackles, we weren't going to play him consistently. He started to do that. Stack got involved off the half-back flank, and just a really mature performance from a relatively inexperienced Richmond team. And there's Kane Lambert too. I just thought their midfield got back to their best. They were smashed by Bontempelli, Dunkley last week. Castagna uses an umpire there to get around. So no, it's just a great win on the road that can set up your season.
And the big man up forward, Lordo, you were critical of him on this show last week and in other media platforms. The coach, Damien Hardwick, didn't like what you said about him. We'll touch on that part of it in a moment. But he stood up, he kicked 2 goals, could have kicked more, but was there throughout the game.
Yeah, I watched the first 5 or 6 minutes and he was busier. He got a couple of handballs out, he kicked the goal from a stoppage. His marking, I never questioned it at all because he's been marking well all year. It's just what he was doing aside from that, Jim. He'd averaged 8 possessions over the first 7 rounds, but had 15, should have kicked 5, kicked 2 goals too, but he was one of the keys to their wins yesterday.
Yeah, and playing on what we've probably got penciled in the All-Australian squad in Alex Pearce there for quite a while. And I was with Lloyd. He just looked more engaged in the game when he wasn't doing this. That's often what happens. When you get into a bit of form, you just seem to be involved in a lot more plays going forward.
Yep. Questionable behaviour from a lot of spectators over the course of the weekend, particularly during the Collingwood-Carlton game. But this fan has also done something questionable.
Yeah, so you want to watch Dustin Martin high-five the woman here. We highlight it and then licks her hand. That normally goes in the end of the show, but it was too good not to show there.
Each to their own, Jimmy.
Hope you might have to explain that to your friends and work colleagues today.
Each to their own, I think. Yeah, Tim Kelly was best of field, most likely for Geelong against North Melbourne yesterday. 2 first-round pick offerings didn't get the job done for him to return to Perth last year. What's his worth now? Yeah,
well, a couple of second-rounders offered, but I think now first-rounders have to be discussed. There's not too many players in the competition who can have 30-plus clearances, inside work. Just watch him here. This is the bit I love. Keeps moving, keeps repositioning, and that's what he does really well. Look at the rest of the midfielders just stand there watching, and he can finish a goal. So 36 possessions, 2 goals. Lloydie, Dylan Shield was 2 first-rounders that Essendon had to cough up. Is that something we're looking at maybe with some exchange of a second coming back? So Kelly in a second for 2 first, because they all need points and stuff for draftees and things like that.
And before you answer that, would you compare Tim Kelly, or would you even say he's better than Dylan Shield when it comes to being traded this year?
He's a better finisher than Tim Kelly. I think the proof's in the pudding.
Than Dylan Shield?
Yeah. I think he's shown that this year. Dylan Shield has been fantastic. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think what this man can do forward of the ball is much better than what Dylan Shield can do.
He was second in the best and fairest last year. May win it this year and win a Brownlow. That's how well he's travelling. So, I think 2 first-rounders is the starting point.
We don't often look at match review offers situations on this show because the day moves on, but we need to when there's 2 Brownlow medalists in the focus. Gary Ablett, for the 2nd week in a row, has raised arms on an opponent. This time it was Sam Wright.
Well, this is the debate again. The only thing will be argued is that intentional or careless. Now, we will probably discuss here, will Michael Christian just go intentional again and then it's up to Geelong to argue, no, it was careless?
Michael Christian is obliged to send that to the tribunal, as he did last week. And in my eyes, if he doesn't, he himself is sending a mixed message, which the tribunal has already sent him.
He's about to turn 35. He's got a
tomorrow.
technical flaw there, Gary Ablett. So I don't know if he can change at 35.
But if he got off last week's on Dylan Shield, to me, in my eyes, he has to ultimately be able to play again next week, whether it's through the match review or the tribunal. Is that the way you see it?
Might have to go to his ashtray again, Dane.
And fine.
A couple of grand. Yeah.
What about Nat Fyfe, who, likewise with Gary Ablett, has a... I won't say tendency, but there are occasions when his arms find their way on opponents' heads.
Yeah, I find this one a lot closer to Gary Ablett's against Dylan Shield against Eston. You know, it's almost a drive-by clip, but again, we're back to this, is it intentional or careless? If they grade it intentional, I'm sure Freo will appeal it, won't they?
Yeah, I would have thought so. Probably lucky the impact was different.
Yeah.
It could have been a whole lot worse.
He could get 2-3 weeks for that. He's very fortunate if he gets to play next week.
Yeah. You talked about the Hawks off the top and what Alistair Clarkson did to shut down a team as free scoring as GWS to just 38 overall points at the MCG yesterday was probably the coaching performance of the year.
Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic, Alistair Clarkson. I said the whole week he was fantastic. He was bold and brave with his decision. And so I want to give full credit to Hawthorn because they executed their game plan beautifully. But I also want to give the Giants an absolute smack. That was the worst performance I've ever seen them play. We've seen them in their first couple of years.
Worst ever?
The first couple of years, they were just an expansion club playing young players. This is a team expecting to challenge behind Collingwood and Geelong for a premiership. They're at the MCG and they started the game so poorly. 10-15 metres off their man, everybody on the field sets the tone and the pattern for the game. And you're going to give that to a side who historically is a kick-mark side. You're just playing straight into their hands.
You're a director of that football club. You have a say there. Will you get involved with what you saw yesterday?
I'll have my comments through the week to different people, but I think I always go to the game, you're going, remember how hard it is to play the game. We can see the space on the second and third level. I could keep that thinking to about halfway through the second quarter until that was incredibly disappointing.
Don't have to add anything to that. Can't be stronger than that. That's worst loss. But
so do you now doubt their ability to win a flag?
No, because we can see the season at the moment. We've seen premiership sides play poorly in the start of the year. We're a third of the way through. There's enough time to rectify it, and I think they should be all embarrassed about their performance. I probably walked away from that ground maybe finding 2 players who actually played to their potential.
Who were they?
De Boer, I thought, did a great job. O'Meara started the game really fast, and I could make a case for Zach Williams across halfback.
Just to back up Jimmy's point, you want to keep the West Coast Eagles, they say under 90 marks. Hawthorn took 136 yesterday.
Right.
So that just shows his point, how much they sat off their opponents.
Alistair Clarkson did it within the confines of the game itself against the Giants yesterday, but part of the game was won possibly by his omission of Jared Roughhead, the great Jared Roughhead. And he was playing VFL yesterday and found it amongst his own repertoire to assist Ruben William there, his opponent.
Yeah, it's a good coaching performance. He kicked 5 goals. You wonder if Ruffy goes, now next time it comes up, do you want to just get an extra 10 metres up there? But he's all class. We've always known that about Jared Roughhead, haven't we? Every sort of incident's happened on and off the field with him. You know, obviously the cancer battles, the form here. He's just been a class act and an absolute champion of that club.
Would you bring him back?
Not this week. No, I thought Mitchell Lewis was fantastic with his lead up. Segler did well in the forward line as well. Yeah.
Studs Up rule was largely brought in on the back of one man, Toby Greene. It hasn't been policed the way it was meant to, and yet we see yesterday Toby Greene has his foot up. I won't say studs up, but he's had a free kick paid against him there, Jimmy, and I don't think it should have been paid given what's been allowed this year.
No, he sort of got him with the shin there. It felt like the umpire wanted to yell out Toby Greene rule on Toby Greene. He was wary of it. The crowd noticed it. Look, it was just brought in for Toby Greene. We've only seen Toby Greene being paid by it.
Yeah. Extraordinary scenes on the Gold Coast. Gold Coast versus Melbourne. So many scores in the last 49 seconds of this game. This is how it happened. Exclusive AFL.com.au down the ground footage. Take us through it.
Yeah, Oscar McDonald is very lucky. So he's the man circled. Look at him on his haunches there. There's seconds to go. Obviously, the scores are level at this point in time. And Nick Holman's the player that kicks the ball. Look at Oscar McDonald. He cannot go with his opponent. Holman follows up. Look at Oscar just limping through the middle of the ground. Holman runs on, kicks the goal. There's now 48 seconds to go and you think they are home.
And then we get to the next part of the play. Pierce Hanley on Marty Hore.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the top of the screen here, highlighted. Pierce Hanley goes tracking the footy, and Marty Hore is a very, very smart player. I know he's just come into the game, but he's built his craft in the VFL there for Collingwood's VFL, and he just keeps his width here. Pierce Hanley gets drawn to the footy as that contest goes up. And you watch, Marty Hore just keeps his distance.
It's very smart how he's held back.
It's very smart because you can see all the numbers at the contest. You don't need to add another one, and you're trying to win the game, so you can afford to take these risks, but you still have to be good enough to convert so late in the game. And what a class finish.
OK, scores are now level. There's 18 seconds remaining. James Harms and Lockie Weller find themselves near each other.
Jimmy makes a good point here. Weller's had a crack. He's gone charging in thinking, OK, instead of saving and getting a draw, I'm going to have a crack at a win, but they lose the clearance and he got burnt by Harms.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate what Lloyd's saying, I like that he went for the win, but probably the execution of how he did it could have been a little bit better. He could have come off maybe the back shoulder, but geez, Harms, that was an absolute flower bag from 20 metres and managed to get through to McDonald.
Now, a lot of Melbourne coaches were over the moon over this win, including Lordo, Craig Jennings, one of the senior assistants. We highlight this because this man shows no emotion in this particular incident back in 2017 with a big win in Perth. Then we go to Adelaide last year. Another big win by the Demons.
It's a slap over the head.
No response, but on the weekend...
No, it was different.
Wait for it.
It just shows, Damo, the pressure on Melbourne at the moment and the reaction from Craig Jennings that they have been under siege and the excitement.
And the best bit of this, it's like he's been caught stealing something from the supermarket at the end here on those little cameras you get in the eye already. You'll look up at the end and go, oh no, I've been caught.
I let my guard down. Post-match reaction from a couple of captains of football clubs. Very different. Let's dissect it. This is Paddy Cripps after the Carlton let slip an 11-point lead at the 20-minute mark against Collingwood. And we're not needing to lip read here to know what he's saying. He is devastated yet again.
If you're a Carlton fan and supporter and ever worried about Paddy Cripps' commitment, you should actually check yourself, because this guy leaves nothing else left out on the field. He was a monster on the weekend and couldn't have done anything more, and he hurts, and he is genuinely invested. And we heard during the week, he wants to be there all the way through.
Just sick and tired of losing.
You feel for him, don't you, when you see that? It must be demoralising. As much as publicly he's speaking and presenting such a positive face, both personally and club-wise, but it must take a toll.
He couldn't do anymore,
Jimmy, Lordy, were they outcoached? Was Carlton outcoached on the weekend when it came to the crunch?
I personally don't think so. I'll see Jimmy's thoughts, but I thought they went toe-to-toe with a strong Collingwood midfielder for a long time. Just couldn't get the job done. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're a young side who are going to be hard learners. They're so literal in their learning, which in a way is good because you learn the game quickly. But at different moments in games, we saw it against the Hawks and then this week, that's where you've got so many first rounders. They come into the game with flair, and sometimes you can take it away from them if you want them in exact positions. There's a couple of moments late in the game where they did something really good one-on-one and should have just played the game, but went back into the rigid game style, which actually hurt them. But I think the best thing for them, and it is a subsequence of this 6-6-6 rule, is actually going to fast-track their development. We saw Carlton in recent years play too many numbers behind the ball, but on the weekend, we saw Marchbank playing one-on-one, and he actually ended up with 11 intercept possessions. So I think a change in the rules actually might help Carlton's development.
For the sake of the coach, though, in terms of going into 2020, he does need to start winning some of those games of footy. Dyson Heppel, back to Friday night. I didn't have an issue with what he did with David Myers, who had that shot at goal after the siren and fell short. Look, there's a smile on both players' faces, but in the context of it, I didn't mind it.
I'm a bit old school. I didn't like it at big time, but that's Heppel's style. Heppel's not different to Patrick Cripps. So you can't expect everyone to be the same. But I was at the SCG like we all were, and I just thought there was too much backslapping. Bombers saying, OK, not a bad effort. We got close. You see Patrick Cripps there. He just wants to get off the ground. He's gutted. I didn't probably see enough of that from Essendon players, but we'll see how they respond this week in their next game.
It's almost like what happened last year. 2-6 after round 8 last year, 3-5. I feel their season's already been blown up.
Yeah, and the moment that Nelly got them a win, which they probably didn't deserve to in the end, was the Dane Rampe incident, of the Spider-Man koala, whatever you want to call it.
Let's forensically analyse this, Jimmy. You picked it up. You had your news journalism hat on and highlighted it to the footy world. Take us through it.
Because I was watching the game, and everyone, of course, you focus on David Myers taking the kick, which we'll see a bit later, and I noticed someone come flying off the back fence and koala the goalpost. Jake Stringer is absolutely onto it here. He's pointing to the umpire, and the umpire comes running in to tell him to get down. Umpire nearly ends up getting front and square here, but It's a strange thinking there from Dane Rampe. What would make you do it in that situation? That the rule does say you can't deliberately shake the goalpost. He'd argue, well, I was just climbing it to maybe touch the footy.
It doesn't matter what he's arguing. He shook the goalpost. We'll just pause it. We'll just take you through, just so there's no ambiguity about what happened here. He jumps on the goalpost and the goalpost starts to move. Yep. So therefore it is, quote, shaking. So for anyone to say it wasn't shaking, that is wrong. And for also people saying that the kick hadn't, he'd done off the post before the kick happened. Well, we just saw then he was on the post as the kick was about to be hit. That, under the rules, had to be a free kick to Myers as they stand at the top of the goal square, and he should have had the shot at goal and won the game. Now, the AFL, had they done that, they would have sat around yesterday morning and over the weekend and said, hey, we paid that decision, it was the right decision. That's the problem with this, that they can say it's the right decision either way.
And I believe that, do they not say they got the wrong decision, the decision wrong, because it would have cost Essendon 4 points, could possibly cost them a final spot, gambling's involved, and so the fallout would be too extreme. So it's really frustrating to say that they can justify that decision.
Crows are back into the top 4, 3 wins in a row. Alex Keith is emerging as one of the great stories of the year, but it's the entire backline of the Crows. He's helped bring other players back into it for a bloke who's 27 years of age and played just 20 games of footy.
Hey, Jim, Don Pike often gets smashed for coaching, no plan B, but I reckon there's been a subtle change and no one can score against them over the past 5 weeks.
Yeah, spot on. I think some of that's to do with personnel. When you add back Luke Brown, who I guess is an unsung hero, but what he allows then is Laird to go back and Smith to go back to actually being attacking half-backs, because when he's out, one of them has to at least go over and cover someone. We mentioned Tarly is back in some good form. He's a shutdown player as well. But Keith has, I think, really surprised everyone with his intercepting ability. I think when you start, you just want to beat your opponent and get a fist on the ball. But this sort of stuff, just seeing the ball and going after it.
He's good with the ball too.
Yeah, and that's what makes you elite as a defender. That's a huge play from Talia. Defending really hard. Look at that, great smother. Look, Adelaide trying to get back, but I think it's the collective group, just the right personnel back can help them launch forward for the season.
Time now for the Access Big Ask. We start with you, Lloydie. Spell liability.
Liability.
Well, Damien Hardwick was doubting your ability to do that. Jimmy, should BT pronounce a ratio's name the way it's supposed to be? Fantasia.
Well, if a ratio wants it to be said that way, well, that's how it's supposed to be said.
Pretty simple, isn't it? To both, the absolute booing by the Kangaroos fans. It's disappointing, but are we actually surprised?
Not surprised.
Was it because of the elbow, though, or was it before?
I think it was happening before that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the elbow didn't help.
Disappointing.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with the whole thing with Ablett when it comes to the booing. Lloydie, Giants are 1 win from 7 at the G since 2016. Is it a major worry for Leon Cameron?
Huge worry. Have to win there to win the flag. It's become psychological now.
Jimmy, a debatable crowd figure of 26,000 at the SCG Friday night. With the Swans falling, are the locals' lack of interest in the Sydney Swans concerning?
Oh, it's always concerning when you have 26,000, but nobody. The Swans struggling a bit this year, and maybe something on at the theatres on Friday night.
Lloydie, yesterday just 14,000 turned up to watch the Hawks play the Giants at the MCG. Are Hawks fans fickle?
I don't like calling fans fickle, but that is a horrible crowd, Damon, and I'd expect better.
It's a shocking crowd.
Yeah, shocking.
Jimmy, you have become the Access Falcon specialist.
Falcon, from the Geelong Falcons. I like finding Falcons down there. Rory Atkins will have a very, very sore head for the next few days. You actually see the red mark here, and he goes, whoa, look at the round of his eye there, his left eye. Big Doog just flushes him. Look at Dougal's even impressed with it. Looks saw the cherry on his face.
And players stopping. It's happened at Anzac Day at the MCG. It happened in this particular showdown too, when the ball appeared to be out of bounds on the full, but actually wasn't.
Got to play it out, and they didn't play it out, which is something you rarely see, so players got to switch onto that.
And a couple of players with good skills botched up goal square incidents on the weekend. Ben Brown first and then Liam Shields.
Yeah, we need the blooper music going here, or the Benny Hill music. Big Ben Brown, it just wouldn't come back to him. And I think Jack Gunston in this next one, I think handled this situation really well, Lloydie.
The late in games, Ben Brown was fourth quarter, this one third quarter. But yeah, players just get it up, handball it up, or do something. But Gunston does the right thing, doesn't berate. Like maybe Matty Richardson would have done it in his day.
Lloydie, Jimmy, thank you. And thank you for joining us on Access All Areas. We'll see you next Monday. Goodbye.